Alright folks, good morning and welcome to our official ride today at the official US press introduction of BMW Motorrad's 2024 R18 Roctane Cruiser. This is the vehicle we are seated upon right now. This bike is the fifth iteration of BMW Motorrad's semi-recently, now you can say recently introduced heavyweight twin cylinder cruiser. So this bike came out, I believe, for the 2021 model year, originally with the R18, then the R18 Classic, which rolls on 16-inch wheels and has soft luggage with the windshield. I really like that bike. Then you have the R18 Bagger, and then the R18 Transcontinental, and now we have this fifth R18 Roctane. This is basically BMW Motorrad's take on the Bar and Shield brand's Road King. That is basically the take on this. So this vehicle is equipped with a 21-inch front, 18-inch rear wheels. So much larger, oversized wheels on this motorcycle. I think the R18 rolls on, I believe it was a 1916, I think. So this one has a lot larger wheels than the 2118, and it really gives it a much more commanding stance. Not only a more commanding stance, but it feels like a lot larger motorcycle dimensionally when you're seated on it. It feels longer, it feels taller, and it just overall feels more beefy. Now, there's a couple other important changes that Motorrad has done to this R18 Roctane for the 2024 model year. Of course, we have these ape-style handlebars. They're not really full ape handlebars. They're nice mid-length. They're not too tall, not too short. We also have the instrument panel, which is neatly integrated into the headlight. Before, the instrument panel was right here on the fuel tank in a conventional twin cylinder cruiser configuration. And of course we have this black chrome styling. So instead of chrome, this bike still has a shiny surface, but it's painted black chrome. So I like it. It's a lot more subdued, a lot more stealth fighter style, which I always like. Now, the heart of this R18 Roctane is BMW's 1802cc flat two-cylinder engine. They call it the Boxer Twin. So they call it that because, unlike a conventional V-twin, where the cylinders are canted at a V and run front-back, this engine has two cylinders that are canted horizontally and go like this: bam, ba, bam, ba, bam, ba, bam, ba, bam. And that is a configuration BMW Motorrad has been using for 101 years, if you can even believe it. That power plant first debuted on its 1923 BMW R23 motorcycle, I think is the nomenclature on that. We'll show you some video of that motorcycle. But it's really crazy to look at the power unit of that bike from 1923. Obviously the engine's way smaller at 500cc, but just the aesthetics of the engine, it's crazy that BMW had an attention to detail and styling on its engines even 100 years ago. It's crazy because there are modern motorcycle manufacturers today that haven't figured that thing out. And BMW Motorrad was doing it 100 years ago. Pretty neat, I think. So 1802cc engine, air oil cooled, it's not water cooled. It puts power back via a hydraulic clutch and a 6-speed gearbox via shaft final drive to the 18-inch rear wheel. And the shaft final drive on this bike, it's beautiful. It literally uses a shaft final drive, just like your rear-wheel drive car or truck, with an actual drive shaft. But the drive shaft is machined, and it's presented in a very elegant way. It's very tasteful. Obviously, you can't see it spinning when you're riding the bike, but at a stop, you can look at that shaft, and it just looks awesome. It's a really nice, functional styling touch. So, good job, BMW Motorrad. It's neat to see you're paying attention to the details. Shaft drive's awesome because it's basically low maintenance. There's no chain mess to clean up from the wheel, and there's no belts to snap. It's a nice, solid mechanical system, and it's maintenance free. Not totally maintenance free, but relatively devoid of maintenance, and the chances of it not working are few and far between. Now we're here at the official US press introduction for this model in typical form. These rides are lead follow rides. It's basically like a demo ride. So we aren't able to just do what we want and do our usual battery of high-end testing procedures that we do here at Motorcyclist Magazine. This is lead follow type riding, so that's just the way it is. We are guests of BMW Motorrad USA, so we have to play by their rules. So this engine, if you can even believe it, this engine puts out a whopping amount of torque. A whopping amount of torque. It puts over 100 pound-feet of torque at the 18-inch rear wheel. This doesn't look very safe. Move over here. So, over 100 pound-feet of torque from at the business end of the 18-inch rear wheel, and 100 pound-feet of torque is a really great stat, because there's only a few motorcycles, production motorcycles made today, that pump out over 100 pound-feet torque at the rear wheel, and this bike's one of them. The other two are Honda's flat 6-powered Goldwing and BMW's inline 6-powered K1600 luxury touring rig. Both of those bikes make over 100 pound-feet of torque, and so does this one. This bike makes almost 100 pound-feet of torque from just off idle. It's crazy how much torque this bike has. Horsepower-wise, it has right around 81 ponies at the back tire. Alright folks, we're just waiting here. I think they're trying to set up a photography pass in this little nice canyon, so we'll see what happens. Until then, we're just going to idle on this bike. Idling on this bike isn't so bad. I really like the power pulses of the engine. Let's show you the starting sequence. So you hit the power button. That is basically like the ignition switch. You hit the power button, then the dashboard lights up, and then you hit the starter button right here. And when you hit the starter button, the engine rocks to life because of its flat configuration. It has a twist feel when you twist the throttle. It pulses to the left. It's kind of cool. It might be kind of weird at first, but once you get used to it, it's pretty neat, and it's just another signature character of this engine, and just gives riders something different. The sound of this engine, the sound is so good. Listen to that thing, it sounds so good. I love the sound of this engine. It sounds so awesome. It's got a pleasing exhaust note, but it's not too loud, it's not too soft, it's not going to attract unwanted attention from law enforcement or your neighbors. It's just a really clean sound. It almost, to me, it sounds like, it just makes me feel like I'm riding a bike from the old days, a BMW Motorrad Boxer twin bike from the old days. So that is the deal. Alright folks, we are going to do our photo pass here, I think, right now. So this is our official photo pass, so we'll see how that goes. I just turned on my Instagram reel camera so we can get some nice vertical video footage for all of our tasty content that we publish on the interwebs. And here we go. Now the ergonomics on this bike, the ergonomics are pretty dang comfy. Okay, sounds good. Okay. That's Allie over there. She instructed for me to wait till this vehicle leaves, and then I can go. So now I'm gonna go. Here I go. So, ergonomics on this bike. The Mini 8 style handlebar has quite a bit of rearward sweep, but it's not too high, it's not too low. You have a real commanding stance of the vehicle. The seat height is, of course, low on this bike, being a cruiser, but it is a lot higher feeling than some of the other R18 variants that we've operated. It almost feels like you're seated on a perch above the bike. So not exactly my favorite, but for around town riding it is absolutely fine, but it does have a little bit of a tall, perched-ish type feel. Now, this vehicle has mid controls. Obviously, you can't have forward controls because of the cylinders that are poking out on either side of the vehicle. I remember for a while, BMW Motorrad was like, yeah, we're going to engineer foot mounts where you can put your feet atop these cylinders. I don't know if that ever passed through legal or that's happening, but that's what they were talking about before. But this vehicle has mid controls, so mid controls to operate the foot mounted rear brake on the right side and the gear shift lever on the left. Now, that's kind of one of the biggest gripes we have with this R18 platform. If you have bigger size feet, you're gonna have a hard time getting your feet in here underneath the cylinders. We wear size 9 US shoes, so for us it's not that big of a deal, but you got to remember the majority of American riders who purchase these bikes, these are big humans with big feet, size 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you know the deal, and they're gonna have a hard time putting their feet underneath this boxer twin engine just because there's not a lot of space. So something to keep in mind if you're a bigger rider. If you're a bigger rider with big feet, you're not gonna be very compatible with this bike, but if you're a average size human with average size feet, you are going to be absolutely fine. Now, the cool thing about the boxer twin cylinders sticking out like that is when you're riding in chillier weather like we are now, I think the air temperature is probably about 60, 62, you have these cylinders blocking the air and keeping your tootsies warm, which is pretty neat. Conversely, if you are riding in hot weather, on a hot sunny day, idling in traffic, oh boy, you're not going to get a lot of airflow to cool down your feet. It's going to be kind of a big deal. Wow, this road's really pretty, folks. This would be a cool road to live off of, I'd say. So that's kind of the deal with the cylinders poking out like that. Of course, this engine is air oil cooled, so the vehicle has to be moving for the air to cool the engine. Look at that awesome machining on either side of the cylinders. Thing looks awesome. It looks like an airplane engine almost. We gotta remember, BMW Motorrad, obviously they exited the aviation industry many decades ago, but that's where their history lies, in aviation. So it's kind of cool that they still kind of throw aviation touches here and there, I think, at least. Alright folks, right now we're cruising in 5th gear. Let's go down to 4th gear. 4th gear is a little bit more appropriate for this vehicle's speed, 40 miles per hour. This engine has some inherent vibration, but it fits the whole cruiser deal. So basically any twin cylinder cruiser has a good amount of vibration. It just adds to the riding experience, and this engine has considerable vibration that you feel through the handlebar and foot pegs. I wouldn't say it's off-putting, because again, it kind of fits that whole V-twin vibe, but it definitely is pretty dang good. Let's give her some gas. Oh yeah, it feels awesome. That feels so good just to give her some gas and get some miles underneath us. Look at this beautiful road. This is sick. What a beautiful, nice road to be cruising on. Now, in terms of suspension, this bike has 4.7 inches of travel up front and 3.5 inches of travel in the back. It has the more limited rear suspension travel as the R18 and R18 Classic have. The big touring bikes, they have a different rear suspension setup which allows for more travel. Obviously, more travel is always a good thing. It would certainly be nice if this bike had more travel at the rear, but these roads where we're operating this bike here in Alabama, these roads are in really good condition. These are relatively smooth roads, and they're very conducive to riding a motorcycle. So to be fair, this bike is gliding over the pavement very effortlessly and very nicely. But again, these roads here are very smooth, much more smooth and well prepared than the roads in the American Southwest, that is for sure. Now, this particular R18 Roctane has cruise control. It also has heated grips. Cruise control is standard. I believe the heated grips are an accessory. This particular bike doesn't have mechanical reverse. So BMW, if you can even believe it, unlike other heavyweight cruisers, they actually offer a mechanical reverse. There's a lever here on the left side of the bike. You flip the lever, get it into position, and then you can back up the bike with these buttons on the handlebar. That's about a $1,000 option. So this bike doesn't have it. We've used it before on BMW Motorrad's other bikes, and it works really good. It just makes for a really nice riding experience. You got to remember, these bikes weigh over 800 pounds. These bikes are not light by any means. So typically when you're parking somewhere in a tight spot, or you're at maybe a bike rally or something to that effect, you're going to want to be able to have mechanical reverse to back up the bike. Look at those cyclists right there. So that just makes for an easier riding experience. Speaking of weight, this motorcycle, this thing is heavy, no doubt. It weighs over 800 pounds with its 4.2 gallon fuel tank filled to the brim. Now, you certainly feel the weight picking the bike up off its side stand, but in motion, you'd be amazed at how nimble this bike is. This bike is so nimble and so apt for direction change. It's crazy how an 800 some pound cruiser right on 21 18-inch wheels can be this maneuverable. It is absolutely unbelievable. But picking it up off the side stand is definitely a chore. You would not want to tip this bike over. It is very heavy. That said, if you did tip this bike over, having this Boxer twin engine basically is like having a kickstand on either side of the bike, where the bike's not going to be laying over that far if you had to pick it up. Alright folks, the group has been gathered back up, and now we will depart again to our destination of Barber Motorsports Park aboard the R18 Roctane. Now, this vehicle has ride-by-wire throttle, so there's not an actual cable that connects the throttle and the engine throttle bodies. It's done electronically via sensors and servo motors. So ride-by-wire throttle allows this bike to have adjustable throttle response, so you can adjust the combined engine and throttle response settings via this mode button here on the left handlebar. We have rock, which is designated by the rock on the instrument panel, and that allows for the most aggressive throttle response. So if you want a snappy, extra responsive throttle response, Rock is the one. Realistically, it's not. It's a cruiser, so it's not going to be that snappy, but it is more snappy than Roll. I'm sorry, Roll. Roll is like a touring setting where the throttle is, it's not crazy responsive, but it's not crazy sluggish either. It's just a general touring-like setting. Then, of course, we have the rain setting. Rain is for riding in inclement weather when the weather's not too good and the adhesion levels from the tires and asphalt are a little bit lower. It also just makes the power band a little bit more mellow. There's not a huge difference between the Rock and Roll settings, but you can feel that the engine is a little bit more lazy feeling in the rain setting. Let's continue to ride in Rock. Yeah! Woo! I love the sound of this engine. It sounds so good. God, it's got so much torque. What a hoot it is to ride. This thing just sounds so awesome. Now, these R18s, if you can even believe it, these bikes are manufactured in Germany. BMW proudly touts that these motorcycles are built in Berlin, Germany, with the logos here inside the instrument pod and atop this clutch slave cylinder. So it proudly touts that these bikes are German built, and that's really one area where BMW Motorrad really stands apart from the rest of the twin cylinder cruiser community. These bikes are built so exquisitely. The fit and finish and attention to detail on these motorcycles is second to none. Of course, Harley-Davidson motorcycles have generally been well built for many decades at this point, and their new CVO Road Glide and Street Guide ups the ante in the fit and finish and quality department. But still, those bikes cost upwards of 40 grand. This bike costs $21,000 as it sits right now, and the build quality on these bikes is second to none. No one builds motorcycles no one builds cruiser motorcycles with this level of detail and fit and finish than BMW Motorrad. These bikes are literally, they're jewelry on wheels. We're riding a Rolex watch. That is how well put together these R18 cruisers are. Obviously, the aesthetic of the motorcycle, which we'll show you in a little bit, the aesthetic is just really clean lines, no goofy wires or hoses hanging out anywhere. Even the use of these Torx fasteners, like everything is premium and well put together. This is not some motorcycle with Home Depot fasteners. This thing is really well put together. Good job, BMW Motorrad. We like that you're paying attention to the details and offering us US cruiser riders something that is very well built for our hard-earned cash. Now, it's worth noting that this bike retails for $21,000. It's pretty amazing that BMW is able to offer a powerful heavyweight cruiser with this much design detail and lofty fit and finish that's made in Germany for $21,000. That's crazy to me. For reference, this motorcycle is about $2,000 less expensive than the Bar and Shield brand's Road King. So kind of interesting that not only was this motorcycle more well put together than its American counterpart, it's also less expensive. Alright folks, we are cruising here on the freeway at 82 miles per hour. Let's enable the cruise control. Cruise control is on. Just like a modern automobile, cruise control is very responsive. Of course, it doesn't have any adaptive function. There's no radar. inside the front of the motorcycle, so it doesn't have adaptive option. It's just traditional electronic cruise control, but that's totally fine with us. Now, of course, this motorcycle doesn't have a windshield, so it's not going to be quite up for touring like an R18 Transcontinental or Bagger, but for cruising around town, it's totally fine. Again, the ergonomics on this motorcycle, I like this handlebar. It's not too high, not too low. It's got a decently aggressive bend, but not overly such. But the seat's kind of odd to me. It really just feels like you're perched atop like a stool. It's fine for around town, but this seating setup is not my favorite. Now, another key feature that this R18 Roctane has is it has those hard fixed saddlebags. So the R18 Classic has bags too, but they're soft bags. The R18 Roctane has color matched, painted and color matched hard cases. Of course, they're lockable. Each case swallows 7 gallons of cargo on each side. These LEDs are neatly integrated into the rear of the bike. We're going to show you all of this here in a minute when we get off of the bike. We're almost to our destination at Barber Motorsports Park in Leeds, Alabama. We're going to be able to check out a lot of cool vintage bikes. If you like old vintage motorcycles, this is the place to be. We're also going to take a tour of the Barber Motorcycle Museum, which is easily one of the biggest and best motorcycle museums in the world. It is absolutely magnificent. The sheer number of bikes and the sheer quality of these bikes that are inside this Barber Museum is unbelievable. You can spend days inside that museum. There's just so many bikes to look at. And of course, there's nice placards on each bike that describe the history of the bike or whatever history that they know of the bike. So we'll give you a quick tour of that place as well. Alright folks, here we are at the Barber Motorsports Park for the Barber 2023 Barber Vintage Fest. I'm so excited to check out old bikes. I love old bikes. I love new bikes too, of course, but old bikes are also neat. They just don't make them like they used to, folks. Ha 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 ha. Before we wrap things up, it's also worth noting that this vehicle carries a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty with roadside assistance. So not only is the fit and finish elevated, BMW Motorrad stands behind its product with a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty with roadside assistance. Pretty neat. Pretty neat, folks. Now, if you're interested in the maintenance intervals of this powertrain, I encourage you to check out our other videos we have on the R18 platform. I think we've made videos on the R18, the R18 Classic, and the R18 Transcontinental. There's probably a couple of videos on each of those models. I really encourage you to watch those videos because you're going to get insight on these vehicles that you won't find anywhere else on other YouTube channels or motorcycle magazines, etc. So check out that video content. Of course, our video content here is carefully crafted for folks interested in purchasing vehicles. So if you're interested in purchasing the vehicle we're operating, this content is specifically tailored for you. It's also tailored for enthusiasts of the brand. If you're a BMW Motorrad guy or girl and you want to learn more about the brand and some of its model offerings, that is one area where we really specialize in breaking down the details. So, of course, subscribe to our channel if you are a US proven purchasing motorcycle enthusiast, and if you're not, it's all good too. Maybe you will step up and run with the big leagues one of these days. Alright folks, we are going to take a pause. I think they're gathering everyone to do some type of media gathering type thing, so we'll check in with you in a little bit. Wow folks, we made it. We just passed like 1,000 million cars and bikes to get in here to Barber Motorsports Park. There is a bazillion people here. It is pretty crazy to see how many people are here right now. I never knew this event would be as big as it is. Of course, this year's event is sponsored by BMW Motorrad. They are celebrating 100 years of motorcycle manufacturing. How neat is that? We love companies that have been around for over a century. It is cool to see that commitment and that level of just commitment to power sports. So congratulations to BMW Motorrad on its 100th birthday. We're gonna get parked up here and check in with you folks in a little bit. Well folks, we made it here to Barber Motorsports Park. There is the Barber Vintage Museum, which we spoke about earlier. We'll give you folks a tour of that here in the next few days. But here is the 2024 BMW R18 Roctane. This is the vehicle we are operating. There is the oversized wheels we were talking about, 21-inch front rims, and the 18-inch rear. So 18-inch rear, it's kind of hidden away. There is that beautiful shaft final drive, the propeller shaft final drive that spins and it looks all sick. That is an exquisite design touch right there. There is the copious black chrome. So in lieu of traditional chrome, this has black chrome, which is a shiny chrome, just blacked out, and it has it throughout the vehicle. There is the 1802cc Boxer Twin with its 4-inch pistons. Isn't that crazy that this bike has 4-inch pistons? Isn't that wild? Look at that engine. This engine just is, it looks marvelous. This is a marvelously looking engine. Just look at how clean it is. There's no wires hanging out. There's no lines anywhere. It's just a pure encased piece of power. Like even the horn is hidden away underneath that cylinder. This is an awesome looking powertrain. Awesome, truly awesome. Now, this R18 Roctane has fixed hard case saddlebags. So these cases are fixed, they're hard cases. Unlike the R18 Classic, which has soft cases, these are hard and they're painted to the motorcycle. Here is the lock mechanism. You push that, it opens that lever, and here is the inside of the bag. Each bag is capable of swallowing 7 gallons of cargo. So 7 gallons of cargo. We have our trusty OGO 450 fanny. This pack doesn't leave us, whether we're riding, basically as long as we're not riding at the motorcycle racing track on sport bikes, we're not wearing that. Or at the motocross track, we won't wear it either. But if we're riding any other type of bike or riding off-road, we will absolutely have that OGO 450 fanny. It is a game changer. We have our camera here, so we can take nice photos for the world to see, and our other OGO little fanny pack thing where we have our Insta360 1x3 camera, which is totally awesome. So 7 gallons of cargo capacity per bag. These bags can also be locked with the key. That's right, folks. Here is the key for this vehicle. This is a keyless style ignition, so it's a keyless style proximity fob. So as long as this fob is in near proximity of the vehicle, it will start. Let's turn the power off like that. So this key is cool because it's styled like the engine. Look, the key matches the styling of the engine. How cool is that? I think it's really neat. There are those beefy 4-piston calipers right there. They are axial mount, so they affix to the fork in a more traditional way. versus a radial mounting configuration, which is that way. Big 4-piston rear brake, which does a good job of shedding speed at the rear. Very aesthetically pleasing bike. LED headlamps, LED turn signals. The LED turn signals are neatly integrated into the rear of the saddlebags. I really like that. Very clean, very nice appearance. This motorcycle, it really does just look like jewelry. This is a piece of jewelry. It is an 800-pound piece of jewelry. It is very, very pretty. Look at the stitching on the seat. The stitching on the seat's excellent. This material is really good. The fit and finish on this bike is at a level that no other heavyweight cruiser company can match. The fit and finish on this motorcycle is literally exquisite. Good job, BMW Motorrad. We appreciate you paying attention to the details for disconcerting power sports customers who only want the best and most well put together vehicles. Well, folks, that wraps up today's review on BMW's 2024 R18 Roctane heavyweight cruiser. Obviously, we love the engine. It looks beautiful. It sounds even better. It has gobs of torque. It's a really fun engine to operate. The styling on the proportions on this motorcycle are spot on. This thing rolls down the road with a commanding stance. It is one heck of a good looking motorcycle. It looks like the Rolex watch you'd wear on your arm. It is beautiful. The ergonomics on this motorcycle aren't our favorite. You feel like you're sitting on a perch on the seat. The other R18 packages The ergonomics on this motorcycle certainly aren't our favorite. It feels like you're sitting on a perch. There are other R18 variations that we feel a lot more comfortable on, but this still is a really nice cruiser, especially for the money. $21,000, it's $2,000 less than the motor company's comparable offering. And it is just a really high quality motorcycle. Yeah, the boxer engine, while we love the engine and torque, the cylinders sticking out, if you're riding in hot weather or you want some air on your feet, you're not gonna get that because the cylinders are in the way. The mid-rest controls also aren't conducive for folks with larger feet. We have size 9 feet, so we're okay. But if you have size 10, 11, 12 feet, you are probably not gonna be liking the limited amount of room there. Still, if you're looking for a really nice motorcycle that looks awesome and sounds even better, this R18 Roctane might be for you. As always, folks, make sure to surf on over to motorcyclistonline.com. That's where all of our written content comes to life. Give this video a thumbs up if you valued it, thumbs it down if you didn't, because we love to hear from the naysayers out there. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for riding with us.